everyone, and welcome to the Arc Cheltenham Preview evening, presented by Crowe in support of Prostate Cancer UK. I'm delighted to have a wonderful panel joining us today. Davy Russell, Richard Johnson, Dan Skelton and Evan Williams are all here to share their insight and thoughts ahead of this year's Cheltenham Festival 2021, which I'm very pleased to be saying. Now, before we get into the content of the evening, I'd like to talk to you about the badge which represents and introduced Prostate Cancer UK. Now, the charity who this Cheltenham Festival Preview is supporting. Prostate Cancer UK is the largest men's health charity in the UK, and prostate cancer is sadly the most commonly diagnosed cancer in the UK as well. More than 11,500 men die from prostate cancer each year. That's 1 every 45 minutes. That just puts into perspective how rapid this is, such a violent cancer. So that's the equivalent to 5 men during an average afternoon's racing passing away. So Prostate Cancer UK help fund life-saving research to deliver better diagnosis and treatments to stop prostate cancer damaging the lives of men and their families. So ARC and Crowe are proud to support Prostate Cancer UK, and you can also support the charity too by texting RACE, R-A-C-E, to 70004 to donate £10 to Prostate Cancer UK and to claim your own Man of Men badge. Funds raised will go towards research into better diagnosis and treatment to ultimately stop men dying of prostate cancer unnecessarily. Pleased that today both ARC and Crowe will match donations made from this event. So please note that standard network rates apply, and 100% of the donation is received by Prostate Cancer UK. So please ask the bill payer's permission. And if you want your Man of Men badge, please respond to a follow-up message to ensure Prostate Cancer UK has your correct address and the details to send your badge to. Many thanks. So day one then of the Cheltenham Festival, we'll kickstart by talking about the Supreme. Sadly, no crowd this year to obviously hear the Cheltenham Roar for the first race on the afternoon, but it still looks as though we've got a cracking renewal. Davey, I'll come down to you first. It looks as though the Irish might have the horse to come home in front. What are your thoughts on this year's renewal?
Yeah, we have a good bunch of novice hurdlers this year. I suppose it's all kind of centred around Appreciated and Ballyadam. I suppose in contrast, both are quite the opposite. Ballyadam would appreciate drying conditions, and Appreciated, I suppose, would prefer a more of a test. He was very, very good, we'll say, the first day in Leopardstown at Christmas time, and visually not so impressive the second day. And Ballyadam done the opposite. He was poor the first day and was much, much better the second day. So if that's our line that we have to go on over here. I just not sure. I'm not sure they're flying the ointment there somewhere. I just have a feeling that there could be. Appreciate doesn't look like a real speed horse that you would imagine you need for the Supreme Novices, but Stairs have won it in the past. So I just have a real liking for Harry Fry's horse. His name escapes me. Metier, yeah. I just was very impressed, and I think he's a huge improver for not alone. He's won in very testing conditions. I'd say any bit better ground, I think he's a huge improver for.
Excellent. Dan, what about your representation in this year's race?
I'm not going to be represented. We've decided we're going to send Third Time Lucky to the county. I just felt like he'd be better on the track on Friday. The Supreme, I feel, looks a little top heavy in the betting. Like Davey says, there may just be one sneaking around the bottom that's a bit unexposed, and if it's a bit of a dry forecast in the immediate lead up, there could be a springer there that hasn't had its ground all year. I think on all known form, if it was to turn up on good to soft ground, realistically the top three in the betting are going to fight it out, because why would the form change if the ground doesn't really? But if it dries out, I don't know enough about the form of the race to really pick one out, but I'd be a little bit cautious.
Okay, many thanks. And Evan, what about your thoughts in this year's renewal? Is there a horse that you think looks like a standout as a supreme winner?
I'd be looking for something for a bit of value, really. Hayley, looking for something for a big price. I think something, even a 25 to 1 shot could really shake things up. Not saying they could win it, but for a bit of value. That horse at Twiston was very tough and genuine in Newbury, Gowell Road, and he's a big price, 25 to 1, and I could see something like that, something that's just, may not be fancy, but I don't think it's a vintage renewal. If you take the top 3 in the betting, I don't think it's a vintage renewal. And I suppose Soaring Glory could run very well, couldn't it? It travelled beautifully in Newbury the other day. So I'm not saying they'll win, but I'd be looking for something for a bit of value anyway.
Yeah, good stuff. Moving away from any of the obvious ones. Well, many thanks for your thoughts. We'll move on to the Arkle. And this year looks an absolute cracking renewal. And I'll come to you first, if that's all right, Dan, because obviously you've got All Mankind, who has got this blistering speed off from the front. What about your thoughts with him heading there this year?
I think it's going to be really exciting. I think, in any normal year, any of the top 3 in the betting, there'd be a short price and sort of almost a banker. But I think it's an exceptionally strong year. We're third favourite going into it, which is what it is. We can't do any more than we've done. We've won our 3 chases, including a Grade 1. But, I always knew Shishkin would be shorter than us as long as he got a clean, a sort of a clean record against his name over fences, because, he was a better hurdler. But I'm really happy with our horse. I've got a lot of respect for Willie's. He looks like a monster. Our horse is in as good a health as I can have him. I don't have any fears about Cheltenham for him. I don't worry about his jumping. I know he's a bit slack at Warwick the other day, but the ground was really deep that day. And if one thing it did show you is he can make mistakes, and he knows how to not get away with it, but he knows how to sort of deal with getting into a unpromising position at a fence. So I've got no real sort of negatives going into the race. I think we're a live contender.
Well, best of luck with him, and he has been an exciting horse, done you great credit already this season, so fingers crossed. I'll come to you, Evan. What do you think is a horse that you'd like to put your money on in this year's Arkle?
I think that Shishkin will start odds on, and I think he's bomb-proof. Dan's horse has done nothing wrong, and I'm sure that Willie's horse is, well, obviously a very, 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 very good horse, but I'm afraid I think Shishkin is banker material. He won. The race he won the festival last year, he got mowed down twice and still got there, and he's just I think he's a special horse.
Yeah, he certainly has looked pretty impressive. Davey, I'll come down to you now. What about the likes of Willie Mullins and Ergamine? Can you see him getting the better of the market leaders, or is there anything else in the race that you think is a horse that we should be sitting up and taking note of?
I think Evan hit the nail on the head with Shishkin. Like what he overcame last year to win the Supreme Novices was pretty special, and it wasn't just an ordinary horse that he beat. The horse he beat is capable of running very well in an Irish champion hurdle, and looks to be, he has a chance in this year's champion hurdle without a doubt. As regards the other ones in the race, look, it's Captain Guinness, at a big price, not a bad horse, but, had heart fibrillation problems earlier on in the season. He's plenty of experience. Darver Star, he was third in the champion hurdle last year. If he comes back to that level of form, then you have to consider him. And Gavin Cromwell's horses are starting to hit a bit of form, but really, for me, it's all about Shishkin. I've admired him from an early age, and the first 2, Energamine is a very, very talented horse, but he's never been to Cheltenham. And he came from the Tom Lacey camp through the point scene. But at the same time, you just love to be the likes of Shishkin has been there. He's hard and he's solid and he rings every bell.
Okay, well, lots of confidence between the pair of you, and Evan both singing from the same hymn sheet on that one. The Ryanair Chase looks to be a bit more of an open race. Dan, I'll come down to you first. What do you think might be the horse to come out on top here?
I think it's a bit of a bit of a scrappy betting heat, really. It doesn't look the strongest. I wouldn't say that's not true. It probably is quite a competitively strong renewal, but there's nothing really standing out in there. If you take his run last year, St. Calvados, I think, would be a real player in the race, and I think he's sort of 12, 14 to 1 or something. I think you can pick holes in the shorter priced horses. If you go back to last year when he just got beat by Min, I know Min obviously made a bad mistake the other day, and we didn't get to see what he can do at the moment. But Min was in the middle of winning Grade 1s left, right, and centre when he just got touched off by him. So a return to that type of form. Harry Whittington's horses are starting to run a bit better now. It's possible.
Yeah, that certainly looks to be the case. Davey, what are your thoughts? Any Irish contenders that we should be keeping on side?
Yeah, it's a very competitive race. I actually think this is one of the extra races that have added onto the 4 days that really has its place at the festival. I think it's a very, very good race. The horse that I really have a graw for is Kim Bailey's horse, Imperial Aura. He's the horse for me. He ticks a lot of boxes. He's come up through the handicap route. He's just a huge improver. He's been very good this season. He's showed that there's improvement left in him. He's a winner over course and distance, albeit at a handicap. But, he just, for me, he's just the horse that's on the up, and he would be my idea of the winner.
Yeah, didn't do a lot wrong the last day. And Evan, what are your thoughts?
If the ground is drying, I fancy that Mr. Fisher. He's more than capable, and I do think he does want real spring ground. I'd agree with Davey with that Imperial Aura, but I don't know. I think he's a horse that would want plenty of cut really to be at his best, really, or want softer ground. But Mr. Fisher, I think, is a good horse on his day when he gets a bit of spring ground.
What a piece of work is a man. How noble in reason. How infinite in faculty. In form and moving, how express and admirable.
Wow-wee.
In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals.
I love you, man.
And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust?
Okay, we'll move on to one of the feature races, I think, for the whole meeting, and look down the route of what I think looks a cracking renewal for this year's champion hurdle. And Evan, we'll come to you firstly. How's your horse, Silver Streak?
He's grand, yeah. He's grand. It was always after he won the Christmas hurdle, it was always the intention to wait until the champion hurdle, but he's fine. Yeah, he's grand.
And how hopeful would you be taking on some of the opposition this year's renewal?
It'll be very difficult, Hayley, because all we tried to do was try and win his Grade 1, and that was mission accomplished, really. But the champion hurdle will be a different kettle of fish. I mean, the mares will be something else. I think Honeysuckle has been ultra impressive. How could you not be impressed by her last time? Goshen was very impressive. in Wincanton. How could you not be impressed with that performance? You'd imagine that JP's filly will be a different, the reigning champion hurdle will be a different filly now. So to finish in the first 4 would be great.
Yeah, well, best of luck there. Davey, what about your thoughts about this year's renewal?
Yeah, it's a hell of a champion hurdle. Obviously the 2 fillies are the top of the market. If I didn't see Honeysuckle the last day, I would say that she'd struggle to win a champion hurdle. But for some reason, she's just improved again. She travelled and jumped like a real champion hurdler the last day. So I'm very much a believer that she can win a champion hurdle. It's going to be a tough ask. I just looking like she's 2-1 to win a champion hurdle. I'm not sure there's a huge amount of value in that. There's others there. I do love Evans Horse. I think his jockey was at his sublime best in the last day. I think it was really probably one of the best rides of the year, tactics wise. And I suppose there's just one horse, and it's coming from the Henry de Bromhead camp, and he's 14-1 is Aspire Tower. I know he blew out last year, which is not ideal, and he's only a 5-year-old. But I see there being an awful lot of pace in the race. And in my opinion, I think Aspire Tower is a real staying horse. I think he's a classy horse, but more so stamina. And I just feel that if it's a case that they go quite a really good gallop and it turns into a staying race, I think Aspire Tower could be a finisher.
Okay, interesting thoughts there. And Dan, what about your view?
I think it's hard to get away for the most likely winner. I think it's hard to get away from the favourite. Like Davey said, she just seemed to find a bit of a gear from somewhere the last day, and that we didn't really think she had. She was running over 2.5 in the mare's hurdle last year, and a consistent horse is probably one of the most consistent horses in training over the last couple of years. And he knows how to win. He knows how to run well when things perhaps don't go his way. So I think if it is a very fast run race, he's got the experience to cope with it all. And I think he will be a big player again, because I think his form just stacks up time and time again. You can't pick a hole in what he can do. He's just very, very good and consistent. So I think he'll take a bit of beating, and probably the mare is the obvious one. But I'll be cheering Evs on.
Cool, thanks for that. Now, just before we move on to day 2, Evan, is there anything from your stable on the Tuesday that you're looking forward to sending out?
We'll only have the one runner on Tuesday, Hayley. We'll only have the Grey Boy.
Cool. Well, good luck with Silver Street. And Dan, what about you? Is there anything else on the opening day that we mustn't ignore from your stable, and where you might be running some of your main contenders?
Yeah, we're going to hopefully run Roxana in the mare's hurdle. That's the Tuesday. I'm going to walk the course on Sunday before declarations, and as long as it's soft enough, she'll go 2.5. If not, we'll wait for the stayers later in the week. We run a horse who's won 3 hurdles this year called Cabot Cliffs in the Fred Winter, and he would have to have a definite chance. He's a very tough, strong horse. I wouldn't say that he's £10 in hand with the handicapper, but he knows how to win. He's a tough horse. And if the rain was there enough, we've got Alnadam in the Ultima. I think he's a sort of 14-16-1 shot, progressive novice. Would definitely need it on the soft side to be a contender, but he's quite progressive.
Cool. Well, good luck. It sounds like you've got some really interesting horses in those handicaps, and Roxana is really impressive the last day as well. So fingers crossed. And then, Davey, anything else on that opening day that you think we should be sitting up and taking note of at this year's festival?
Not so much, really. I suppose we don't really know what the weights are going to do in the Boodles, but there's a horse there, Glorious Zoff, who's really starting to blossom in this better weather. His work is starting to improve as he goes along. And after that, I think they really look forward to the championship races.
Cool. Well, thank you all very much for having looked through day 1. So day 2 then of the Cheltenham Festival, and we'll start by looking at the Ballymore. Davey, I'll start by coming down to you. We've got an interesting renewal, of course. What are your thoughts going into the race?
It's, for me, it's the one race that it has a huge bit of value in. Just a horse that I'm really admire is a horse called Bob Ollinger of Henry de Bromhead's. He was ultra impressive in his point to point when he won, and look, he finished second to Fernie Hollow first time out. There was no shame in that, and he just kind of went down along the Invialan route after that, and I thought his run in Naas was very impressive. I think he stays well, and his jumping is fine. I think it's fine, but he I think he's just getting better and better.
What about Willie Mullins's Gaillard de Mesnil? Do you think that he's a horse that has been showing lots of promise?
Yeah, he's definitely looks to be a very good horse. His form, it's an opposite type of form. It's very hard to judge him because they've never meeting. But he seems to be the best of the rest. But I just feel that Bob Ollinger is the best novice hurdler that we have in Ireland. I just think he's just very good.
Yeah, that's great to get your opinion on that, because it's been hard to measure up their two form together. So fingers crossed your Bob Ollinger comes home in front for Henry de Bromhead. Dan, what are your thoughts about the Ballymore?
I think it's a very deep race. I've been hearing a lot of things about Bob Ollinger, like Davey says. Gaillard de Mesnil won a Grade 1. You have to sit up and notice that. And Paul Nicholls' horse is very good as well. He won the Challow and was very authoritative in that. Yeah, Paul's talking quite strongly about him. I think it's a really strong race. I actually wouldn't know which way to tip. I suppose, given the strength of the English form, I think that's the best 2.5 mile novice hurdle form there is around. I think I'd be on his side, brave man's game, but it'd be very marginal. There's a lot of top quality horses in this race.
Cool. And Evan, have you got a strong opinion in the Ballymore, or are you also thinking it looks hugely competitive?
Well, on that brave man's game, the worry I got, our horse finished second in that Challow, and when you see a horse on a big flat track and they get rolling on a big flat galloping track, and do you know that those type of horses that just get rolling and rolling? I'm not sure. I saw him in Chepstow and he didn't really go up and down. Does that make sense? Do you know when you see a horse that? And I got a funny feeling. I'm sure he must be a very high class horse. But the one worry I'd have is Cheltenham, the brave man's game. I think he's devastating on a big flat proper track like Newbury, but Cheltenham is a different kettle of fish, lads, isn't it? When you get, especially, if the ground is drying out a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really interesting analysis as well. So we'll watch with great interest. There's a pretty strong favourite in the Brown's Advisory Novices Chase. We've got Monkfish heading the betting here. Davey, can you see this horse being beaten after his performance the last day?
Sorry, just getting back to Evan. Brave Man's Game ran in Cheltenham and he was beaten in Cheltenham. So it would be a fair point. And I'm just reading so he led, he hung left, reached for next and soon ridden. So reading it now, I haven't seen it, but reading it, it would suggest that he wasn't as comfortable there that he has been on other tracks, but that was earlier on in his career. So maybe the penny has dropped with him, but it's something that I haven't thought about with Brave Man's Game, but just reading and seeing he got beaten there already. He was beaten by a good horse in Soaring Glories. So that could be a line of form that we could be slipping up on. If Soaring Glory goes and wins the Supreme Novices, then we might be concentrating a little bit more on that sort of form. But getting back to Monkfish, Monkfish done something last year than what he probably shouldn't have been able to do in winning the Albert Bartlett. He he had all the signs of being a chaser and a big, scopy horse, maybe a little bit clumsy in ways over hurdles. You always felt he was going to improve, and I thought he was very vulnerable last year in Cheltenham, but he showed a huge amount of class to win there last year over hurdles. I think it's going to take virtually an act of God to get him beaten in Cheltenham this year. He ticks every box. He's just the ultimate, definitely the ultimate novice chaser, if you know what I mean. He's ahead of his game. He's ahead of everything else. He's just a real man of a horse that ticks every box. His jumping is fantastic. He's obviously a winner around the track. You know, there's very little to knock him about, only that his price is so short for the general punter. You know, that's just a shame about it. But he's very, very good, and I think you should just sit back and enjoy him.
Yeah, I think he'll be one of those going into the accumulators on the day from what we've seen so far. But Richard Johnson will be riding in the race potentially because Sporting John's entered up. Richard, would we be seeing Sporting John in the Browns Advisory, the Novice Chase, or would he be a likely contender in the Marsh on Thursday?
Yeah, I think the way the ground is drawing at the moment, you'd think the 3 mile is probably the slightly more likely option. I'm sure he will be left in both until the last minute, but look at whichever race you run in, you've got Envoy Allen in one and obviously Monkfish in the other. So neither are going to be an easy option. But obviously I was very thrilled with him at Sandown when he won the last day, and he's probably the most unexposed horse in the race. I know he disappointed at Cheltenham last year, but he's a very exciting horse for the future. And obviously both those horses are going to be very hard to beat, but I think he is hopefully very exciting, and I'm sure we haven't seen the best of him yet. So obviously I'm very hopeful he's one of my best riders of the week. But just apologise there. Sorry, I'm not very good. Technology hasn't helped me, so I've been sat here for half an hour trying to work out how to do it. So we're now on the phone rather than the laptop. So unfortunately I'm in the motorway services. Just it's taking me this amount of time just to get through to you. So sorry for the delay.
Well, it's lovely to have you with us now, and I think we'd all concur with not being technically savvy, so you don't need to apologise to us. Evan, I'll just jump across back to you. What about your thoughts in the Brown Advisory Novice Chase?
I think the novice, if you look at the 3 novice chasers, the Shishkin, Monkfish and Envoy Allen, I think if you said to Davey or Dickie, would you ride them in the Queen Mother Champion Chase Shishkin? Would you ride Monkfish in the Gold Cup? Or would you ride Envoy Allen in the Ryanair? I guarantee they'd think long and hard about riding those novices in the championship races. That's how good they are. And I think Monkfish, I think like those other two, I think they're 3 outstanding novice chasers. And I think just look at the horse and enjoy the run, because fingers crossed he does it in the way like he did the other day. He's a very good horse. Yeah,
I think that's a very fair comment with the strength and depth in this year's renewal. And we'll move on to the Coral Cup, because it's a handicap where there's some interesting entries in this year's renewal. And Dan, I'll come to you first. As usual, it's a fantastically competitive race. What are your thoughts in this year's renewal?
Was that the Coral?
Yes.
Yeah. I got to be honest with you, I haven't gone through it at all. We've got a few entries in there, but I don't think any of them will get in, and thus my preparation is very minimal.
That's it. That's good enough answer, as long as you haven't got anything that might sneak in that we should be getting on each way. Davey, again, I mean, it is tough, and you can have horses, you can get the first 7 or 8 home sometimes, but is there anything that you think might have a lively chance in the Coral?
Plenty. Yeah, I suppose it all depends how much they go up. If Thomas Darby is going to be a definite runner, but if Thomas Darby runs and the weight stays they are, Grand Roy is a very attractive horse in that race. He's in good form. Again, he's another horse that's starting to blossom with the weather. He's just took him a while to come to himself, and the surroundings at home here, and I think he's just getting the hang of it. He's just really is starting to blossom.
Cool. Well, nice to see him progress on from his place effort, his win before that. Evan, is there anything that you've seen that might take your eye, and what does look to be a hugely difficult conundrum, I think it's fair to say, to solve?
I'd always side with the Irish in those handicaps. I always would, because as Davey says, they just seem to blossom with that old sunshine that they tend to get in Ireland at this time of the year, you know? Remarkable how that old sunshine drifts across at this stage of the year. So I'd always go with that, you know?
And the warmer weather and the climate, or something like that, even though sometimes it could be snowing, who knows? Richard, I mustn't leave you out. Is there anything that screams at you that's a Coral Cup horse that's going to be home and front?
Yeah, nothing sort of stands out at the moment. I think it's just a real case of wait and see what sort of runs. Obviously, at the moment, there's lots of these horses have got entries everywhere, whether it's 2 or 3 miles. So it's I think it depends where the weights go and what runs. But the Irish always seem to have a strong hand in this sort of race, and I think these days, the class horses seem to come to the top. You're not really looking for a horse at the bottom of the weight. You're looking for maybe a graded horse in the future that this is a stepping stone to bigger and better things. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll move swiftly on to the Queen Mother Champion Chase. And Dan, I'll come to you. Looking forward to seeing Nube Negra. He's had a short break. You must be pleased with his season so far.
Yeah, he was great at Kempton, where he beat Altior. And I was very surprised that he did that day. I've always thought he's a very good horse. I didn't think he would necessarily do what he did, more down to the fact that the ground I felt was softer than was ideal. So I learned a good bit about him that day when we realised that he could handle the ground. He's got to step up again. This is a new venture for him. He's the young and potentially improving horse. He's got to prove that improvement continues and he can step right up to the very highest level. His work at home's been good. His preparation's been good. We were always coming straight here just because of timings. And as it is, it probably turns out that he is a better horse fresh. But we've given him plenty of time. We never rushed him as a novice. And he arrives, I feel, with a fair chance. He's there to hopefully sort of get a lead in the race. He's not one that you have to force. And I've said he's quite a quick horse, and if he can go around with a clear round, hopefully he's got plenty of fuel to come up the hill with.
Well, best of luck with him. Looking forward to seeing how he shapes up against some leading contenders. Davey, what about your thoughts in the Champion Chase?
Yeah, again, I think we found out an awful lot at the Dublin Racing Festival. I was often worried about Chacun Poursoir and his finishing powers. The only worry with Chacun Poursoir is we've never seen him around Cheltenham, and he is 4 to 5 for a horse in a champion chase that we've never seen run around Cheltenham. Is it's a big risk for a horse at that money, at that price. But before I saw him at the Dublin Racing Festival, I thought he was vulnerable in this. He stayed really well from being dropped in and taking his time a little bit. I think he was all the better for it. For that reason, look, I'm siding to him. There's no value in him. I do think that the likes of Altior will get closer to him. And if Altior is going to get closer to him, then Nube Negra has a huge chance in the race. So, there's dangers there. He's not. I don't think he's that far ahead of him as the betting suggests.
Okay, interesting stuff. Evan, have you got a strong opinion on the Champion Chase?
Yeah, I don't think he'll come up the hill, because I thought Paul Townend was always minding him to finish his race, and I think Kim Bailey's horse will win it. I think First Flow. I think he'll win it. He's great value, massive improver, very tough, stays very, very well, tough, genuine, and I think he'll win the Queen Mother Champion Chase.
Okay, interesting stuff. Richard, what about your thoughts?
I think it's probably a slightly more open race than obviously the betting that suggests that Chacun Poursoir basically can't be beat. But again, Cheltenham's a very unique track, and he has got no form around there. I think he's very, very short. Yeah, I'm sure Altior, if he can bounce back, he will run well. But at the moment, I think we're all sort of you're hoping he can bounce back to his old form rather than anything else. And Nubrenega, yeah, I mean, I was very impressed with him at Kempton, and you know, the yards are in great form. You know, you're looking for a new horse to come on, and Kim Bailey's horse and Nubrenega, they're the two that are improving. And yeah, I think I the way he was around Kempton, I thought he was I look towards him for a bit more value anyway.
Okay, good stuff. I'll just come round and ask you if there's anything for the rest of the Tuesday, if you've got any strong opinions on any of the other remaining races. Of course, got the cross country race and the bumper. David, I'll start with you. Anything else we should be looking out for?
Yeah, well, Tiger is in good old form. He goes for a cross country race. He got his last. He was schooled there last week with a bunch of the other horses, and to be honest, you know, he's going around like a 2-year-old, not an 11-year-old. So he's in good old form. I think the ground just really played against him last year. So I think the drying conditions is a huge help to him. It'll make a big difference to him when come for that race.
Good stuff. Dan, anything else to be looking out for on the second day?
Yeah, I've got a couple in the Grand Annual, which is now run on this track, which makes it a very different thing. Normally in the Grand Annual, you used to be able to be 20 lengths detached at the top of the hill, 4 out, and you'd pick them up coming to the last. And I think it's a slightly different race now. It's on this track on the Wednesday. I run 2 in it. Amula Gold, he knows how to win now. He's got a bit older and a bit stronger. Probably not got a great deal in hand with the handicapper, but he can win a fight. And then if the ground came up real nice, Not That Fussy is definitely still well handicapped. Had a wind up and won a jumpers bumper prepping for this. But the ground would be absolutely all important.
Cool, thank you. And Evan?
I've got one in the bumper that could run very well. The horse of Richard Spencer's, but I don't know his name.
It's an Oasis song in a way.
Wonderwall.
Yeah.
25 to 1.
Yeah.
Will win.
He was impressive at Ascot on debut there. So yeah, that will be an interesting. See how he comes after he did get beaten on his next start on his third. Richard, anything else on that Wednesday? I see you might have. Is it Zanzi? Would you be on board in the Grand Annual?
Yeah, Zanza probably one of my best riders for Philip in the week. He unfortunately did fall at third last at Cheltenham in December, but he was travelling really well at the time. Lucky enough, the handicapper didn't move his mark, and the form with Sky Pirate obviously worked out well afterwards. So yeah, I think he goes there with a very good chance. He scored at Exeter Race Course of the day and was really good. And like Dan said, it's going to be a sharper test this time, but he's also travels really strongly. And I think, yeah, he definitely goes there with a decent chance, but it's obviously going to be a very competitive race.
Excellent. Well, best of luck. That's Wednesday done and dusted. So we'll move on, but before I do so, as I mentioned at the start of the event, ARC and Coral are proud to be supporting Prostate Cancer UK with this event. And prostate cancer is a disease that affects around 400,000 men in the UK. So that's the equivalent of 6 sold-out Cheltenham festivals, which is pretty horrible to think about. But you can show your support to the charity by simply texting RACE to 70004 to donate £10 to Prostate Cancer UK and to claim your own Man of Men badge, which I think Dan's kindly wearing his today. And standard networks do apply. 100% of the donation is received by Prostate Cancer UK. So please ask the bill payer's permission. And remember, if you want your Man of Men badge, then make sure you respond to a follow-up message to provide the details for the delivery of your badge. So hopefully plenty of you can support that and wear them very proudly. So we'll move on to the third day of the Cheltenham Festival, day 3, and we'll kickstart by talking about the Marsh Novices Chase. And David, I'll come to you first. Obviously, there's a few horses we've mentioned earlier on that are still entered up here, but it looks as though they've got definite targets, although hard to know until very last minute. That's something I've learned. Can you see Envoy Allen being beaten?
No.
Simple. Yeah.
It's an act of God that'll have to stop this guy, really, you know. So he's very, very good. He's after improving for a fence, so I can't see any reason why any of these horses will improve past him, you know.
Sure. Yeah, he's looked incredibly exciting. And do you think that the move across to Henry de Bromhead would affect him in any way, or is he such a good horse that you think that it wouldn't make a difference at such a late stage when going into Cheltenham?
No, you could throw anything at him. He's capable of handling it, and he's a real pro.
Yeah, he's looked so exciting. Evan, what's your thoughts in this year's Marsh Novices Chase?
I agree with Davey. I just think the 3 novice chases which I mentioned, the head of the market, I just think they're just special. Some years you just get those novice chases that you hope have a clear run, and it's very unfortunate that he's in a different hotel. But the reality is the work is done, and I personally think again he's that good that I'd like to see him win for the horse's sake and the sport's sake, because those 3 novice chases, the 2 miler, the 3 miler, and the 2.5 miler, I think are outstanding.
Yeah, and Richard, I'll come to you. What are your thoughts on the race? And obviously, a slight possibility we might see Sporting John here.
Yeah, I mean, if the ground, if the rain that is forecast later in this week, if it really comes more than it's forecast, there is a chance that Sporting John could run. But Envoy Allen, I mean, he's won the Champion Bumper. He won the Novice Hurdle last year. His form is perfect. Like you say, I think with all things in place, without an accident, he's going to be so hard to beat. But obviously, like Evans just said, there's 3 novice chasers that all of them are going to be very, very short prices. At Cheltenham Festival, we've seen it year in, year out. There's always horses that don't win that you expect to win. So he should win, and Davey knows him better than anybody else, and he looks incredible. But I'm sure one of them might not.
Well, it certainly looks to be a fantastic renewal. And Dan, your thoughts, and will you be represented?
Yeah, we'll run Shan Blue in this, who won at Kempton over Christmas. He's in great form, and we thought we'd come here rather than try and stretch him to 3 miles. We just didn't think we had any chance beating the real strong stayers at 3 miles at this stage of his life. Whether he can in the future or not, we just didn't think that he would be able to at this point anyway. He's a good jumper, and I think the track will suit him. We went round there as a novice hurdler. He was not a novice hurdler. He just wasn't in Envoy Allen's league whatsoever. He's not one-dimensional to ride. You would be able to take a lead on him. So if someone's going to go a lot quicker, it's no problem. But he does like to jump and extend away from his fences. And I think the ground at Sandown was just a little softer than was perfectly ideal. No excuses on the day. That was the race that it was, and we got beat fair and square. But just think on a little bit better ground, I think he can use his jumping a bit more. I thought Envoy Allen was seriously impossible to beat until he moved stables. I think it adds just that little tiny bit of doubt. Whether that doubt is 0.0001% or whether it's a significantly bigger percent, I don't know, and time will tell. But until that move, he was bomb-proof. I'm thinking that maybe gives us half a chance, but no more than half a chance.
Yeah, that's interesting to get your views. So thank you for that. We'll move on to talk about the stayers, the staying hurdle race. This looks a fantastic renewal as well. And Richard, we'll come to you first. What are your thoughts with this year's renewal and Time Hill?
Well, obviously, without doubt, my best rider of the meeting. Look, he's done nearly nothing wrong in his life. He was a bit unlucky, I thought, last year in the Out Ballad. We got squeezed at the wrong time, and I was very frustrated after the race. But again, obviously, the form was worked out very, very, very well. And this year he won at Newbury, and he obviously just got beat at Ascot. But there's very, very little between him and Paisley Park, I think. And they seem to have the best form in the race. Last year's winner obviously showed a better run, Lifesaving Oscar at Haydock last time, and you can't rule. We always say it, horses with festival form out, but I wouldn't swap Time Hill obviously for anything else. And he's only had 6 runs over hurdles. I'm hoping he's still on that upward curve, and I'd like to think that some slightly better ground as well at Cheltenham compared to Ascot will be in his favour.
Okay, interesting stuff. Dan, we'll come to you. Your thoughts on the race and your potential representation here?
If we ran Roxana in this instead of the mares, she's got, I think, 3 lengths to find with Richard's horse and with Paisley Park, which isn't a great deal. But if you work on fact, not fiction, they beat us at Christmas. Why, we should be the price we are to beat them this time. It's not a likely outcome. I know a different track, a different set of circumstances, etc. But looking at it purely in black and white, we've got those 2 horses to beat before you even take into consideration the Irish horses. To be quite honest with you, I'm hoping we get enough rain that I can run Roxana on Tuesday. That's what I want to run her in the mares race.
Okay, thank you. And Davey, what about your thoughts on the stayers?
Yeah, again, I just concur with all the lads. I think Richard's horse is a huge player. I think Emma Lavelle's horse is back to, he's been there and done it, and he's back to that sort of form that he's shown this year. It's just the Irish horses. Sarah de Burle is a real Cheltenham. I mean, he loves it around Cheltenham, along with the storyteller. And then you have Gavin Cromwell's horse. His name escapes me just at the moment. Lauren Porter, yeah. So he's a little bit one-dimensional. He does like to go out in front, and he's a little bit quirky, but he's got his ways. He's only a 6-year-old, so he's open to an awful lot of improvement. But I really think it'll be the English horses that will come to the fore here. I think they're just hardened, proper staying horses. I like Richard's horse. He ran a very, very good race at the festival last year, and I think he just could be the one that has a little bit up his sleeve. Okay,
good stuff. And Evan, have you got a strong opinion in the stayers race?
I just think that the favourite will get beaten, and I don't know what will beat it, because it's not that I think he's a wonderful horse, but I've just got a funny feeling he's 9 years of age now, and don't discount last year's winner. He's a big price, and he ran a very good race in Haydock, and he looked big enough. I think the horse will improve, and he could finish in the first 3. That's all I'm saying. I think Rebecca's horse, Liz Nagar Oscar, is a big price at 14-1, and he could just be in the shake-up.
Yeah, the horse that of course upset and at big odds 50-1 last year. So that's not a bad shout each way. What about the rest of the card? I think Dan, you've got a few other runners entered up in the Paddy Power Plate. Anything else on the Thursday?
In the plate we've got Old Grange Wood, who he's a standard in these types of races. He hasn't had any luck this year. We were quite lucky with him the year before. He actually won 2 big handicaps. Nothing's gone his way this year. He is good at Cheltenham, and I'd give him an each way chance just because he's so good around there. You couldn't really be going into there thinking that you're going to win a race like the Plate. Old Grange Wood is a consistent horse. I don't think he's got £10 away from the handicapper. So if someone's going in there with with a good chunk in hand, they're going to be hard to beat. But he knows how to run a good race around there.
Yeah, well, best of luck with him. And Evan, anything else on the Thursday that you're looking forward to?
Look, we'll probably run Cool Cody in that race, but surely Sam Crowe's big price, isn't he? Sam Crowe come back to life. Wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world.
Yeah, Davey, any update on Sam Crowe?
He's just got that. He's got that lovely sun on his back, Evan.
Is he? There's a surprise.
He is, yeah. He actually lives outside. Well, he's got a special stable made for him that he can walk out into the sun. So he's actually getting more sun than the rest of them have got. Yeah.
Good.
So he just probably has an awful lot to find, really. I suppose this year hasn't really gone his way. So there's no doubt that if that sun gets into him, that he could come back to life.
Excellent. Well, I hope he does. He's a great old horse nowadays. And Richard, on the Thursday, is there anything else that you potentially might be getting legged up? And there's a few horses that you sometimes ride entered in as well.
Yeah, in a lot of the handicaps there's different horses, but again at the moment it's very hard to know exactly what's going on. Actually, I'm down at Philip Hobbs in the morning. I'm sure he'll be going through the different horses that are going to run. But at the moment, to be honest, I literally just guessing on what's going on. So I think we're better off to stick to the lads that know which horses are definitely going to go at the moment.
What a piece of work is a man. How noble in reason. How infinite in faculty. In form and moving, how express and admirable.
Wow-wee.
In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals.
I love you, man.
And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust?
Fourth day, then we kickstart with the Triumph. Davey, I'll come to you. What are your thoughts in this year's renewal?
Yeah, the Irish juveniles in general haven't really been good, but at the same time, Zani here and Quincilios have been impressive in everything they've done. For me, I think, look, I just have a real soft spot for Zani here. I've always liked him since he came to the yard first, and he's improved his jumping and everything has improved since, to be honest. I think that's good staying track will suit him. He's won over hurdles over 2-2. I just think that Alan King's horse, is the horse. He's looks very, very good. On what looked a very, Kempton is a speed track, and everybody tells me this horse has stamina written all over him. So for that reason, you'd have to be very impressed with him. But if he's going to beat Zana here, he's going to have to be very, very good.
Yeah, Tritonic there for Alan King. What about your thoughts in this race, Evan? Do you think it's going to be a horse that's trained in the UK, or are you more impressed by the Irish contenders?
Well, it's the same. It's always the same. The same horses take each other on in this division, don't they? And if Davey's saying that Zana here is the best of that bunch, then you'd have to sit up and take notice. Sometimes there's a horse that's probably only had one run that sort of comes to life. Perhaps those horses that have had a few runs, you can often find that the Triumph is won by a horse that maybe has only had one run this year. So, keep an eye out for something like that. I was impressed with Alan King's horse. He was on and off the bridle, wasn't he, at various times? That won't help him around Cheltenham. And if he gets outpaced at the wrong time, that could count against him. But I suppose when he hits the hill, he'll be doing his best work at the end. I just hope that, whoever wins it, I'd like to see one of those that is unbeaten win it, really, because it's always nice to see one of those good horses coming through.
Okay, Dan, your thoughts on the Triumph this year?
I was really impressed with Kingy's horse, Kempton. He's a very high rated flat horse, and I'd say him and Zanahiyr have it between them. They look like they're the two standouts. Kingy's horse, he's good with the juvenile as well, Kingy. I think would surprise me if they were a good bit clear.
Yeah. And Richard, what is your opinion on the Triumph this year?
Yeah, no, I have to agree with the other lads, really. I thought Kingy's horse, I thought the way he sort of jumped the second last, the way he picked up, sort of put distance after last to the winning post was very impressive at Kempton. And I think, Kempton's a good track for Cheltenham horses. It's a sharp track, and like Evan said, yes, he might have been a bit on and off it, but I think that bit more experience with them, the world's are good, and he's definitely the best of the English, and like I said, I wouldn't disagree with Davey from the Irish angle, but yeah, he's the best we've got over here.
Cool. We'll move on to the Gold Cup and history potentially being made with Album Photo bidding for getting 3 wins in a row. Davey, can you see this horse doing it, or is there another horse in the lineup that you think is going to take this year's accolade?
I think it's going to be his toughest test. Again, he's done the exact same prep as he's done in the past, and the form has literally worked out to the minute with Acapella Bourgeois going and winning the Bobby Joe afterwards. So it's all leading towards him being capable of winning it. He'll need to be at his very, very best to win it. I think Henry de Bromhead's horse is a huge danger. I Plutard. I was very impressed by him, and again, he's that horse that stepped up in distance and has found huge improvement. And he does resemble the likes of Sporting John, who it'd be pretty ironic that with Henry losing him, Sporting John, that a Plutard could be the one that could win the blue ribbon event for him. After that, I think, Champ, his form from last year, not the ideal prep, as in he hasn't had that many runs, but I was really impressed by his performance the last day over a trip that was obviously way too short for him. But I think it was the right thing for Nicky to do, as in with his jumping and everything like that. I think he will be the better for it. And again, you're kind of going back into territory then that it may be a slight surprise to see anything else win it. For me, anyway. I'm leading along them sort of lines.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Richard, what about your thoughts on this year's Gold Cup, and can Native River come home in front?
Well, I hope so, yeah. Fingers crossed he can, but obviously, yeah, it'll be he's trying to make history for the other reasons, really. I think probably no horse has come back from 3 years after winning it to win it again. But I was generally really impressed. At Sandown with him, I thought he showed loads of his old zest. He's 11 years old now, but again at Sandown, he was loving life. Obviously, for me, I hope it rains from now till next Friday, and it becomes a real slog. If it does, that's going to definitely enhance his chances. But I don't think he's a million miles. All his form is rock solid. And yeah, if you take the line from Santini and Bristol Bermay, that definitely gives him a good chance on the last year's Gold Cup, which he unfortunately missed. So look, I can't wait to ride him. You know what you get with Native River, and Tizard said he's in great form. So fingers crossed. But Album Photo is obviously the one to beat. Willie's obviously trained him specifically to come back here to try and win it again. And you're not going to not William Mullins for how he's done it the last 2 years. So I think he's the obvious one to beat. I think all the rest I don't believe there's an awful lot between 5 or 6 of them. So again, if Native River can reproduce similar form to at Sandown the other day, that has to give him a huge chance of being in the first 3 or 4.
Okay, well, good luck. I'm glad he's come out of that Sandown race in good form. Great to see him back as well. Evan, what about your thoughts in this year's renewal?
Well, I think it'll turn into a real war of attrition because there just seems so much pace. So I think it's going to be a very strongly run race. And I'd love to see Album Photo do it because it would be great for the sport. But am I the only one who thought that Champ, it's almost the perfect prep? I mean, he's just travelled. He obviously stayed so well last year to win the novice race. And I just, there'll have only been one target, and it'll be the Gold Cup. And I think I could see Champ winning the Gold Cup because I was so impressed with him in the way he travelled and jumped in Newbury last time.
Yeah, second time back after a wind up as well. Dan, your thoughts on the race?
I think Album Photo is going to be incredibly hard to beat because he's had a great prep and he knows how to win it. I think the form of last year's race, could, on the day, it was the best form of the year. Subsequently, it's taken a few knocks, but there's nothing wrong with what Album Photo's done. A plus tard is the improver, and he'd have to be given plenty of respect. The Gold Cup, though, can throw up some funny results. It's sometimes won by the horse who stays the best. And if it did get into that battle, like Dicky and Ev are saying, it's going to set it up for a closer. I'm not really sure who it suits best at that point. It depends on how Champ jumps in a Gold Cup. If he jumps like he did in RSA, he's no hope. But if he jumps like he did at Newbury over 2 miles, which everyone was surprised at, he's obviously got a real chance. So I think it's a fascinating contest. Last year, it looked obvious that Album Photo was the horse to beat. I think this year he's still the horse to beat, but maybe not quite as solid.
Yeah, interesting to see if his preparation's going to stand him like the great Best Mate, who had a very light campaign as well. So a fantastic renewal. Thanks for your thoughts on the headline races on our final day. Are there any other horses that are lining up on the Friday that we should just make a small note about, either from your yard or anything you're riding, or just strong opinions on the final day? Dan, have you got anything else that you're looking forward to sending out?
Yeah, I mentioned at the top there, we're going to send Third Time Lucky to the county hurdle. And he's got some good novice form. I rather stupidly sent him to Musselburgh last time and got him beat, which was a bit ridiculous of me. The track was just no good for him, but he's got some good form there, and he'd have to be a player, I feel.
Good. Well, best of luck with him. Richard, anything else that you might be getting on board on the Friday that we must mention, bar, of course, the Great Native River?
I think in the Outward Bar, I ride Tom Lacey's horse, the one at Warwick, Admiral. He's an out-and-out stayer, I'm sure. He's only had the one run over further than 2 miles where he won at Warwick, and he won an Irish point. He would ideally like soft ground, but I think over 3 miles in an Outward Bar, you need a stayer. I think that the race will be ideal for him. And again, I think it's one of those races that you need quite a tough horse that can sort of tough it out at the end. And I think he's big and strong, and I think you'll see out the trip well.
Well, best of luck with him. Dave, anything else on Friday that you're thinking might be the one to stick with?
Not so sure. I just think that in the Mayor's Chase, if Henry, I'm just seeing if she's still in it. If Henry, she's not. I thought if Henry was going to leave his filly in the Mayor's Chase, she might, but she's obviously going for the Queen Mother. Shattered Love is in good form. She's working really well. And there's a novice filly in that called Mount Ida. Is in good fettle as well at the moment. But I would be more than surprised. I might even get a weakness if an Irish filly doesn't win the Mayor's Chase.
So we'll certainly be taking note of anything going up there.
We know them fillies, when they get that bit of sun on their back, they always seem to improve for it.
Evan's just perked up at that as well. So yes, I'm sure that could be the winning formula, get that sunshine. And the likes of Ellie May, have they impressed you over in Ireland from what you've seen?
Yeah,
From
Trip is just the issue. I suppose she seems to be very good over shorter. She was really good around Naas the last day. Cool Reevy has really impressed. She's beat the boys in Limerick, and she's been very good against her own company. Shattered Love is, she's been there, done it.
Yeah, JLT went, hasn't she?
Yeah, there's any amount, Magic of Light even, she's gone over to England and been very impressive this year, and she's been good. And she the likes of Cabaret Queen and all them, any one of them could win it. I really think that just the fillies are in Ireland are just a little bit ahead of the rest.
Okay, then we'll certainly be following them strongly, I think, the representation. And Evan, what about you on the Friday? Anything else that you think we should be taking note of as well?
I've got I don't know if it's running there, but there's a horse called Grumpy Charlie, trained by Chris Honor, and it's won a few novice hurdles around Chepstow, and it gallops and gallops and gallops. Now it's gone up in the ratings, and it's going to be rated 140 or maybe just over. And I'm not saying it's well handicapped, because there'll be 6 or 8 in the Martin Pipe race which are well handicapped, but it's a good horse. It's 20 to 1, and it's trained by a small stable down the West Country, and it's a very nice horse who I'd follow just because I like the way it goes about its job.
Okay.
Is that the Scirocco horse, Evan? Is he by Scirocco?
Yeah, he's just a lovely, he's just a smasher, and I could see he could finish in the first 4 just because he's a good horse, not because he's a handicapper. I think he's better than a handicapper.
Okay, well, it sounds like Davey's taken strong note of that one as well. So thank you for your insight and following that horse. And I'd like to thank my whole panel as well. Thank you, Dan. Best of luck with your runners. Thank you, Davey. We look forward to seeing you back in action very soon. Evan, best of luck with your runners, and thank you for your thoughts. And Richard, who've got some nice rides as well on throughout the week, really. So fingers crossed that you come out with a few winners as well. Thank you all for giving you your great insight as well, and some really interesting thoughts. And before you go, we'd like to thank you for joining us, and we are delighted that the event has been supporting Prostate Cancer UK. I've read out some pretty daunting stats and facts, which I think remind us it's quite a scary cancer. So thankfully we've got Prostate Cancer UK doing their best. So a huge thank you to anyone who has already donated, but you still have the opportunity to do so. The details are on the screen once again. Just text RACE to 70004 to donate £10 to Prostate Cancer UK, and hopefully there'll be a few winners from everyone who's joined us this evening, and then that means you can almost donate a bit more maybe, and you can get your badge as well. So fingers crossed you find a few winners at this year's Cheltenham Festival 2021. Now, Simon, Claire, across the whole of the 4 days at the Cheltenham Festival, what are your thoughts? Any real standouts that we should be looking forward to?
Hayley, I think it's all set up to be another wonderful 4 days at Cheltenham. You've got, I suppose you could call them 5 great championship races. I mean, the Champion Hurdle featuring a brilliant clash between Honeysuckle and Epatome with Goshen thrown in. The Champion Chase may have an odds-on favourite, Chacun Pour Soi, but some wonderful horses against it. The Arkle winner put the kettle on. Altior, Pollitt's below the reigning champ. The Stayers Hurdle's brilliant. Paisley Park looking to be back to his best there with Time Hill and a good field assembled. The Ryanair looks really competitive with Allaho, Mellon, Min, Sam Crowe, the lot in there. And then, of course, a brilliant Gold Cup where a horse is bidding to win for the 3rd time, like Best Mate did and Arkle did in the form of Alboon Photo. But with a really good field against him, like Champ, Native River, Royal Pagaille, etc. So great championship races. Some bankers in there, the likes of Appreciate It and Shishkin on the first day, Monkfish and Chacun Pour Soi on the second day, and of course Envoy Alain, on the Thursday, the Marsh Chase. He'll be one of the bankers of the week with that unbeaten record. So plenty of short ones for the punters to get stuck into. Great championship betting races across the 4 days, and lots of money flying around. The last few days, you've seen good money from Metier in the Supreme Novice Hurdle against Appreciate It. We've seen Embittered, a very well-backed horse in the Grand Annual for Joseph O'Brien. And Bob Ollinger seems to be the preview horse. Henry de Bromhead's horse in the Ballymore has been talked up left, right and centre. And we've also seen good money for Lieutenant Rocco and the Ultima on the first day as well. So money flying around as you expect with the handicaps, some short price favourites for those who like that kind of thing, and then some brilliant betting races around the big grade ones across the 4 days with the Gold Cup. Just looking at an absolute stormer. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great week, and hopefully people can get behind this preview night and donate some good money for prostate cancer on the way.